action.
Hello, I'm Luke Darcy. Welcome to Access Hilarious. Damien Barrett, it's finals time. Is it fair that Fremantle has to make the trek to Simonds Stadium in Geelong to play the Cats in their first qualifying final?
Darcy, it's not fair. And it's not fair for the Dockers to find out about this 1 week before the final starts. In the big picture, I've got no dramas with Geelong playing this final at home against Fremantle. It's not for every club, but against Fremantle, no dramas. But you cannot make such a big decision, and such a decision that deviates so greatly from accepted policy, that finals in this particular state of Victoria are played at either Etihad Stadium or the MCG. You cannot make that decision 1 week before the finals start. Make it at the start of the year, that'll be all okay. Not so late.
Andrew Demetrio tells us it's crowd-based. Fremantle only had 1,000 last time they played a final at Etihad Stadium. Is there more to it? Is there some politics behind the scene here, Damo?
Well, we do know the AFL's trying to buy early Etihad Stadium, get full ownership of it early. I've got no doubt that that is just part of the leverage and part of the brokering that the AFL will be doing about that.
Here's the finals draw. Week 1, Hawthorn play the Sydney Swans on a Friday night. Do you give the Swans a chance, Damo?
I don't, Darcy. I know they were pretty good for a long part of that game on the Friday night just gone, but no.
Hawks, for me, Cats will win the qualifying final down at Simonds Stadium. That is a massive home ground advantage.
Don't lock that in. The Dockers, Darcy,
are you going to tip the Dockers?
will win that second qualifying final.
You've had some big statements. That might be the biggest of all. Collingwood and Port Adelaide Saturday night. The Pies will win that one.
You'd expect so.
Can't wait for Richmond Carlton. We're hoping for 90,000 on Sunday, and I think the Tigers will win that one.
Are they a little smokies chance, though, the Blues? They've got a very good record against Richmond, 9 of the past 10.
Yeah, they have to be. I mean, they will. They beat them, as you said, 6 weeks ago. I think Richmond will win. I think they're in better shape and have got more depth at the moment. Did the umpires cost the Brisbane Lions their chance, Damo? This is the last 15 seconds of the game. Paul Chapman, well, I personally think that's holding the ball.
That is holding the ball.
Staggering part is umpire McBurney, who ran in, blew the whistle and could not have got the whistle away any quicker. That hasn't happened all year. They've let those go. Should have been holding the footy. We can only ascertain that he knew that there was a handful of seconds left. Comes out to Leicester. Leicester probably should kick the goal. Brisbane going to the finals. But can you
at least for a couple of hours anyway.
Yeah.
With Carlton winning that, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
But no, that decision was different to how they've been policing it all particular season. And me, the umpire there, has let the moment get the better of him. And let's have a look at why we're saying that, because at this particular stadium, we've highlighted that there in the corner. That is the host broadcast coverage, Das. Now, on that coverage, there is a countdown clock which is visible to people at that ground. Now, the score clock there at the right of that, you can see that's the normal scoreboard clock, so it's counting up. But there is vision of the scoreboard, of the time clock counting down.
So you're saying, umpire McBurney, everyone on the ground knew exactly how long there was to go?
Look at Matthew Stokes, does. He knows. He's pointing to the scoreboard, trying now to tell, I think it's Mackie who's about to kick it in. Mate, there's 1 or 2 seconds left. Just clear it out of here. This is an issue, Das, that needs to be resolved before they play this final next week with Fremantle, because it is AFL policy. They do not like the countdown clock. Etihad Stadium, in its merits, has been trying to get a countdown clock for a long time. Not allowed under the AFL rules. So AFL needs to sort this out this week.
Yeah, and I think human nature, I don't really blame umpire McBurney. When you see the clock counting down, I think your instinct is to get the game moving on pretty quickly. It was a strange night Saturday night, Essendon, unprecedented circumstances, Damo, for a club relegated to ninth. The goal started with Ben Howlett.
Yep.
And it was a bit of, we're playing for the jumper, fist pump, and you thought maybe they can pull off another remarkable victory after 14 wins throughout the year. They ran out of gas in the end, but this was an interesting moment as well, Damo. I personally liked it. It was driven by Joe Watson, I understand.
Yep.
He decided that they needed to go and thank their fans who miss out on finals because of what's happened, and every staff member, every coach walked around the crowd and went and thanked the supporters.
Yeah, well, you know my thoughts on this, Darcy, and so many officials still need to actually face up to what they did here. One of those is Mark Thompson, who's been fined by the AFL last week and has been talked about now as the next coach of Essendon. And there's a real groundswell against that happening now. We saw Brian Cook yesterday say some really strong words about this. Mark Thompson himself is second-guessing whether it's the right thing for him and the club to do. There's a lot to play out on this front now, and just don't lock him in as an absolute guarantee to be coach next year. There's
Simon
a lot of
Goodwin,
questions.
The man, then, Damo. Yeah, you think he would?
Potentially, and the Mark Harvey, I think, situation could well come into play. Whether he wants to come back in, knowing James Hird is coming back in round 23 next year. Lots of wade through, but Mark Thompson is certainly telling people that he's got his own reservations about doing it.
Speaking about coaching appointments, Paul Roos opened the door. He said now a 50-50 chance. Locked in Paul Roos to coach Melbourne.
It's 85-15, Das. Yeah. Getting that last 15% over the line is going to be hard because until you get the signature on the paper, as you know, particularly with Paul Roos, it's not done. Thus, interestingly enough, it's going to be, we believe, about $1.6 million per year to Roos to go and coach that particular footy club. When the AFL only recently, 6 weeks ago, signed off on a $2.7 million rescue package of that footy club, which Peter Jackson, the new CEO, has asked for, there's a lot of questions being asked at other clubs. Now, what we have been able to establish is, of that $2.7 million rescue package, only, when I say only, $400,000 only can go toward the new coach. It leaves Melbourne with a lot of money to make up to get Paul Roos across the line. But there's a lot of questions being asked by a lot of footy clubs as to how the AFL can give money to a footy club and then that footy club go and waste, or not waste, but spend, and it's not wasting, it's the wrong use of the word, but spend a lot of that money on someone like Paul Roos.
The AFL only allowing $400,000 of that rescue package. That's interesting.
For the rest himself,
has to come from the Melbourne Football Club. Heading into finals, clubs have got injury issues, trying to get their players right. Tom Hawkins is struggling at the moment. He really is restricted in his movement. I heard Chris Scott say after the game that some days he wakes up well, some days he's not so good.
Das, this vision here, he's ineffectual, Das, and I know you've got a lot of time for him. I know you think he's done okay this year, kicked nearly 50 goals. I would look at him not playing him in the final.
Yeah, I'm of the other opinion, Damo. You still get the best defender goes to Tom Hawkins. You hope they manage him better. Maybe they're holding out on being able to get the inflammation down before the final. I just think there isn't a replacement that's good enough to. I think even 60%.
Josh Walker's clunking him in the VFL. He's not accurately kicking at the goal.
He's played games, and I honestly think at this stage 60 to 70% of Tom Hawkins is better than the alternatives are there at the moment.
Watch Ross Lyon exploit that next week if indeed he does play.
You're big on Freeman, aren't they?
They win that game, does. Hey, Carlton does incredibly got into the finals, came back from 39 points down. They got themselves into all sorts of trouble because of lax defensive work like that here. We see there's no one on the mark, and even the man who's on the mark.
I was at the Essendon Richmond game at the time, Damo, and this was one of the highlights we saw. And at that point, 77 to 38 down, with players refusing to man up, you thought, good luck coming back from there.
Here's another
concern. You just always get someone to go and challenge that on the mark. Schultz runs around, no pressure.
Isn't it standard now, Das, to be lining up against
they've got some real areas for improvement. Carlton,
they've all cost goals.
Pulled off a remarkable win. The first one to handball to Westhoff was almost like a training drill without anyone putting any pressure on at all. Strange.
You covered the Friday night game, Sydney Swans and Hawthorn, and the Swans' big man, Das, did exploit the Hawk defence for a long period of this game.
Which was the issue they had in the grand final last year at times without Brian Lake playing, but Pike got hold of some big marks. Mumford got on the end of it. I really like the way Jesse White's moving. He's a dangerous athletic forward. Kicks them from outside 50. Mummy pushed forward. Mummy was absolutely fantastic. I thought his ruck work was outstanding.
Tippett comes back to us.
They got some real selection dramas. It's going to be...
Does he play? I mean, sorry, he plays, of course, but do the other three guys all play?
No, well, someone has to make way. They can't be that top-heavy. Mumford or Pike, both been sensational this year. I think Jesse White has to play. Staggeringly, Mumford might be the one.
Really?
I mean, as good a player as he is, I just don't think they can have that many tools come in. I think Tippett has to take a turn in the ruck.
Okay. Umpires and players colliding has been happening a lot, Das. We show this one here. Chris Cameron's runs into Steve Johnson. It's clearly on what we're seeing there, the umpire's fault.
And it happens. There's 32 people on a field, 36 players, plus 4 umpires, trainers, runners. Natural thing is that you occasionally run into people. Teammates run into each other. Now, I think the AFL should actually put a retrospective apology out, Damon. I am biased because a mate of mine, Todd Curley, they had a rule when this was many years ago that they're going to clamp down on umpire contact. Todd Curley suspended for 4 weeks at that stage.
It's 2001 this does.
It ended his career, Damo.
So you're not showing this just because you pick up the loose ball here, so remind us he played for the Bulldogs. But
picked it up cleanly, Damo, if I remember rightly. But this ended a player's career, and it was unnecessary because players have so much going on the field. No one goes out of their way to run around.
He only got 2 weeks, Das.
He got 4 weeks suspended down to 2 at a time that he should never have. Lost momentum. Someone took his spot on the side. Didn't play again. Umpires and players run into each other from time. I've never seen a player run out of his way and go, I just like to clean up Steve McBurney for the fun of it.
So you reckon don't have any penalties against players who do it?
Well, if someone decides to bump into an umpire and you can prove they did it deliberately, 15 weeks. If there's inadvertent contact, like Chris Cameron did, Damo, then we need to let that go and understand that's what happens. Hey, I want you to make sure this week, Damo, you get a copy of the footy record. It's the easiest way to win tickets to the 2013 Toto AFL Grand Final. Each week over the next 5 weeks, the AFL record is giving you the opportunity to win one of 5 double passes to the big game. So get your copy of the AFL record right throughout the final series. It's a great publication. Players acting, Damo.
You don't like it, do you?
No, I don't at all. No. And we're talking one of the great Stevie J, who is an absolute superstar. Stevie, look at that.
Are you saying he took a dive there, Das?
Stevie absolutely took a dive. He actually went down before contact was made, tried to move for a free kick.
He did it.
He moves before even Goose made contact, so Stevie will cop that. because he's a ripper and his teammates let him know. Dan Jackson might have got what he asked for here because he's going on with a bit. I like both Dan Jackson and Jakey Melksham, who can seriously go a bit, Jakey.
Melksham knocked out Roughhead a couple of weeks ago.
He hasn't taken a backward step. It was a junior boxer, Jakey Melksham. There's a warning to everyone. Stay away from Jake the Snake Melksham. And I like a melee. The melee's good. I know there's going to be some fines handed out, but Big Will Minson, I'm not convinced he didn't rip his own jumper, Damo. I've never seen a man happier with his top off than Big Minnow. And this one just spilled over a bit. There's 22,000 Sunday at Etihad Stadium. No one's upset about this. I know we'll get whacked from the AFL, and so this is not a good representation of the game, but letting a little bit of steam off, Damo, it's not a bad thing.
But, Dust, they're going to cop a lot of fines out of that. That's as bad a melee as we've had this particular... No, I'm just telling you how the system works, Dust.
I know how it works.
And Maxie Gawn there fired right up too when Lockie Hunter had a little go at him. And there's
look at the strata wheel, and then he thought he was going to get one from behind. It was a friendly fire wheel, and they're still going on with it. No damage done, no punches thrown. A little bit of entertainment at half-time, Damo. Look at Will. Look at still going. And he strutted his way off the ground with his top
John O'Brien about this.
He could not have been happy with himself, Big Will. No hurry to find a replacement jumper. And enjoyed every bit of that, Damo. That's all we've got time for. But keep your AFL website onto afl.com.au as Damien and I continue our wash-up series. We're reviewing every club in the competition, what they did right, what they did wrong, and what they need to do to improve in 2014. It's exclusive to the AFL website. Thanks once again for joining us. Enjoy the finals. We'll see you next week.